Hello and welcome to Boomer Live as we are here to talk about the match between India and Nepal in the Asia Cup. India have already registered and they have qualified into the Asia Cup Super Force officially. That is a good news for India, and that is what it is. The news which has come out, so which means that India will be playing in the Super Force with the other teams from the opposite group as well. Now that is good news. So talking about which. No, India put Nepal to bat first in this game. Rain was around. That was one of the major reasons. And now, if you look in the ultimate scheme of things, India made a good choice by choosing to bat second. And it did get better to bat on in the second innings as well. Even in the first innings, it was a good surface to bat on. You can say India did drop a lot of catches, giving away Nepal a very good start. And in comeback, you can say that India winning by 10 wickets in a 23 over game, chasing the score 143 alone in 20 within 20 odd overs is a very good thing. Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma scoring 50s. That is positive signs going into Super Force. At least for Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma, who did not look really good in the back. At least Rohit Sharma looked good, but Shubman Gill did not look good at all. Some rhythm back for him. Siraj picking up 3 wickets, Jadeja picking up 3 wickets, Shardul giving the important breakthrough. All in all, you can say not the most convincing, but still a decent performance nonetheless. Jen, what did you make of this? What did you make of the game in totality today?
Yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a game where, players would be looking for confidence. And even though you would say that India did let India did let Nepal get away with it initially, and especially those drop catches that you rightly mentioned. Possibly the one that really stuck out for me was the Ishan Kishan one. It was a very regulation catch for a keeper with the gloves on.
Yeah.
It did feel like India were not as much into the game. Possibly they felt that Nepal would be an easier opponent. And I can understand in many ways that, when you face Pakistan, probably the most difficult because of them being your arch rivals as well. India did seem to be a little loose today, but then they quickly recovered, especially in the second half of the innings. But credit has to be given to Nepal. They really stuck against the giants, the likes of Kushal Bhuttel and, of course, lower down the order, Gulshan Jain, Dipendra Singh, and then Sompal Army. Those lads really stood up to Indian bowling. I know India were not at full strength with Jasprit Bumrah going back home for the birth of his child, but even then it was still a sizable amount of talent in that Indian bowling lineup. And to face the likes of Kuldeep Yadav and Jadeja especially, making sure that you kept them at bay and scored 230, you have to appreciate Nepal for what they did today.
Absolutely. And one thing which I really found today was the way in which they took on the short pitch bowling of fast ball. You think that's something which India will be really concerned as well. The way in which Indian fast ballers bowled during the first spell, it just looked like they were not up to the mark at all.
Yeah, I just felt like the Indian fast bowlers thought they could use shortcuts, so as to say, to get the Nepalese batters out and as quickly as possible. But that was not the case because, as I said, this stuck around. Especially the openers, real credit to them because to ensure that you don't lose a wicket against new bowlers the likes of Mohammad Shami and Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that they're not as probably as talked of as someone like Shaheen Shafiri or Harris Rock, but they're still really good with the new ball. But I did feel like Indian bowlers did not ball to the pitch because I felt it was the kind of pitch where you had to ball a little fuller, make the batsman drive on the up. Because even when you saw, I think it was Kushal Bhuttel whose catch Kohli dropped. We saw the moment he balled it up front, it was a little difficult to drive on the up. But the moment they started bowling short, it just sat up, making it easier for the batters to judge the length and go after the bowling. And that is where I feel Indian bowlers didn't stick to the basics initially. But when the spinners came on, you felt they were the ones who helped India. Really claw back into the game, and that's where things really changed for Nepal.
Yeah.
Once again, when the Pacers came back towards the end of the innings, Nepal did make hay, but then it was never going to be It was never going to be enough. 230 against this Indian juggernaut of a batting.
Yeah.
And for them, and the kind of bowling that Nepal had, we saw that even against Pakistan, they bowled really well. They bowled tight lanes, but they really did not have the penetration to get those wickets, and that was on show today. Without being able to take any wickets against this Indian lineup, you're always doomed to lose the game.
Absolutely, and it's something which you always felt as well. Nepal's bowling was there. A weaker suit as well, if you even looked in the last game, the way in which they bowled well and they let go of that particular momentum they had with Pakistan, considering 340 odd. Even today, you can say it was a curtailed game, but they just wasn't good at all. They bowled in bad lines and it just wasn't up to the mark. Now, for India, especially, how happy will they be now moving into Super Force? I know they'll be playing Pakistan once again, then whoever it is, most likely Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, or maybe Afghanistan. Most likely it is going to be Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So how is India going to really go into that challenge? Because it's not easy to play against any of these oppositions. In Super Force, it can be really nervy. Sri Lanka is playing at their home. Pakistan showed what they can do last week. If things go bad for India, that's going to be pretty bad as well. So India really have to up their game, especially in fielding at least.
Yeah, I mean, just going over the table right now of Group B, and you almost feel like Afghanistan are at a clear disadvantage, especially given the fact that their net run rate. I mean, especially given the fact that their net run rate is also something that has suffered a lot because of their one loss, and I mean the fact that now Sri Lanka has only played one game, they won it, but they have the best net run rate in the group,
Yeah.
and which means Afghanistan will have to beat Sri Lanka in a way that they surpass Bangladesh's net run rate.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is something which when you look at the way in which how these two teams have played as well in the recent past. For Afghanistan, the most important thing is going to be to defeat Sri Lanka. Number one, the first task is going to be to defeat Sri Lanka, and then you wanna comment about the most pathetic feeling of our grades? Yeah, that's what we're talking about as well. Because for India, you can't afford to make these mistakes. Imagine we had dropped Imam and Babar 2 to 3 times in the Pakistan game. Do you think India would have won that game? Definitely not. So for India, the most important thing is going to be to do the basics right, at least support the bowlers, because you want to pick up those wickets in the power play. If you have picked up those 3 wickets in the power play, you never know. India, Nepal would not even have scored through 200 runs.
Yeah.
You gave them the start. You gave them the belief that you can maybe score runs. That's what really shifted the momentum for them. That's what really made Nepal also believe. But ultimately, I would say one thing, what I personally found also was that for India, they have to up their game. The intensity today was really lacking.
Yeah.
I really thought that was also because they took this game as a walk-over, which is not a right thing to do, especially when you're playing international cricket at any stage, especially knockout tournament.
Yeah, that's where even I felt. I think it was not I think it was not as much as mistakes made in the field as lack of intensity, as you rightly mentioned. Because if you see, I think initially India seemed to have a little, I would say, a little lax attitude initially, and that's where those 3 catches were dropped. Then I think they caught on to the fact that okay, this is not going to be as easy as they thought, and maybe that's when the field, I mean, the whole thing shifted. I think overall, really, to be very frank, when it comes to the bowling effort, it was the spinners who really gave India the control back. I know Kuldeep Yadav didn't pick up a wicket, but he bowled at a very good economy rate of just 3.4. And I think Jadeja is the one who capitalized on that tight bowling by Kuldeep Yadav because he got those 3 wickets. He again only gave 40 runs in 10 overs. But aside from that, and then once that was done, Siraj again, he really did not bowl well in the first spell initially, the new ball. But when he came back with that second ball, he got the important wicket of the opener who had done so well. I think it was I think it was the second batter. It was Asif Sheikh whose wicket he got, and he really was starting to get going. I know he struggled initially. His strike rate was below 50, but he had just started to click. He had scored a couple of boundaries. From that wicket onwards, then he got their lower order out as well. But yeah, overall, it just seemed like India started the game with a lot less intensity than what you saw against Pakistan. Probably.
But I also felt Mohammad Shami looked very rusty. I can also say that because he did not play post IPL.
Yeah.
Post IPL, he's not really played. WTC was the last game he has really played, and since then he's not played for the last 2 to 3 months now. So that really takes a toll if you're a fast bowler, if you do not have that. And for Shami, I've always noticed he's someone who gets better with more he plays.
Correct.
He's someone, he takes a long time for his engine to get going, and he's someone who likes to play that longer bit of time as well. Yeah. So I was, that's why maybe Shami, if you really want to use him, you can use him. But today, once again, Shardul Thakur breaking partnerships as usual.
Yeah.
I don't know how he ends up doing it. But yeah, India will be pretty happy with that particular contribution. But now going ahead, for India, the most important thing is going to be how they're going to manage themselves against the top opposition. Now the real tournament begins. Now the group stage is over. Now is where you have to make your next big move. 3 catches which you dropped, 2 of them were from good fielders. Now that is very important. I think it is not like they can't catch balls. I mean, you'll drop catch in a big match, but then I also think sometimes your focus is a lot more on other area of department. Sometimes you prepare for that. And also you should be ready for it. You should be ready for these catches. And with Shreyas Iyer, I still think I don't know if he's been feeling the slips. I don't know with his back surgery if he's a right slip fielder to go to. Maybe they have to reconsider
I
that.
also feel
Virat Kohli have ended up dropping some sitters in the recent past for a long time, which is very funny because he picks up those blinders and drops sitters.
He did pick up a blinder again at the same position, which was way more tougher. He did make it a little difficult for himself because the ball was lobbed in the air. He moved in too quickly and then had to make that adjustment last minute. But for me, again, I just feel like Shreyas Iyer, if you keep him in the ring, it's fine. But as if you keep him in the slip, I genuinely feel the kind of fielder he is, especially the kind of ground fielder he is, you're really wasting your resources by keeping him in the slips. Slips, what you usually, from what I understand, slips where you usually do is you keep your fielders who are very good with their hands, but probably not the fastest or the fastest movers in the field. But Shreyas Iyer is definitely one of your best when it comes to that, and I think for me, I think you're right. I think it's him fielding in the slips, and probably it's a way more different art fielding in the slips than fielding maybe in front of the wicket. So I think that's the reason why probably him dropping those catches. So I genuinely feel maybe if you have to go with a slip fielder, probably someone like a Shubman Gill is a much better choice. I think he's got that hand-eye coordination. I'm not saying Shreyas Iyer is bad. I'm just saying he's way better in another position on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And today, at least Indian fans won't be that sad about the fact that Joe Potter did not fail or something like that. So we had a 10-wicket win, so none of the batting order was tested, and I'm fine with it. Against opposition like this, you expect to be ruthless. You expect to have such dominating wins, and I'm glad that India got the 10-wicket win, especially Shubman Gill getting the 50. Because I still felt in the first game he was anticipating that short ball a lot, so he was relying on the back foot, and he got bowled on a ball which would have never gotten out otherwise. He's very strong on that ball, which he would have played otherwise on a front foot, but he was relying so much. He was anticipating a short ball, and you know what? Harris obviously set him up to ball that full ball and got him through as well. So that's Pakistani bowlers. They've been the best bowling unit. For me, they're the best bowling unit in the world by a long margin. And because they've got a lot of variety, and they've got three genuinely quick bowlers with a lot of variety as well. If you have to talk about trio of bowling, if India gets Shami, Siraj, and Bumrah, maybe I can say that okay, they're good, but Bumrah is still coming back. I've not seen Bumrah ball yet. So for India, I think they're going to be playing Pakistan next, or are they going to be playing a match before that?
No, I think they're going to be playing I think it's obvious. I mean, it's decided that Pakistan has topped the group, so I think they're going to play the team that finishes first in Group B, most likely.
When is that match going to be?
I think that's probably a day gap, and then I think that's the next one. I'll just probably check in.
Update on that. I think that's how it is going to be, especially when it comes to the standing as well. From as of now, what we can know is it's a short live which we're going to keep today. I mean, there's nothing much to talk about as well. So all in all, I'd say a good win for India, a decent win. Very lot of positives in terms of batting. When it comes to fielding, one area have to really improve. And Nepal team, a lot of credit to them for showing the resilience to take to 230. You saw what they can do against Pakistan, putting them 124 for 4. Then took India 230. They are an upcoming team. I think we should respect that. But I think there are a lot of positives in that end.
Yeah, I mean, just an update, guys. Pakistan is the first game that we're going to be playing in Super 4.
Yeah, that's the first one.
That's on 10th of September. So it has got a long rest as well. But I think one thing that India probably, from what I feel, I think India would be really happy if Afghanistan doesn't end up getting selected, because Afghanistan is playing mostly their matches in Lahore, and that's where I really feel they're a little bit at disadvantage. Because if they were playing on this Pally pitch, I think the trio of spinners that is, I think Mohammad Nabi, Rashid Khan, and Mujibur Rahman would really run through opposition, especially likes of Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, who have really struggled facing some quality spin over the time. But because they're playing in Lahore, that really gets cancelled out. But now imagine if Afghanistan qualifies and plays India on these pitches. I think Indian batsmen would, I'm not saying they'll struggle, but they'll definitely find it difficult. So they would really take it if tomorrow Sri Lanka beats Afghanistan, or if Afghanistan don't win at the kind of run rate required for them to go ahead.
Absolutely. After dropping catches, they behave. And I really love the Rohit Sharma's reaction, because Rohit Sharma really got annoyed. He was like, "Kya ho raha hai yahan pe?" Like, he was really annoyed when the third catch went down, because you can't afford to do that. Imagine if India was... This would have been a tighter game. It was a 50-over game. Nepal would have gone to score 270, 280. You would have been looking back at it like really lividly. And that's where you can't drop catches. That's one thing. I think it was KL Rahul who had come in Ranveer Aluwadia's podcast and also discussed this, that one thing which is in your control is catching and fielding. You can never give excuses for that. Until the sun was hitting on my face, but never give excuses for fielding, because that is totally in your control. Batting, bowling, I can understand. It can be bad. You can get edge to a good ball, whatever. But fielding is in your hands.
We spoke about this as well. I mean, during that the Pakistan game initially with Nepal, we spoke about how I think three things you can definitely control. Something that Dhoni was a big advocate of. Where he said running between the wickets, fielding, and catching. Basically, these are three things that you can control. You're absolutely in control in that situation, and if anything goes wrong, you're the one to blame. I think only thing probably the exceptions are when the catch is way too difficult, or maybe the fielder does an exceptional effort that you really can't counter. But those cases are very rare, and even in those cases, sometimes there's misjudgment as well. So I genuinely think that's where Kapil's point, right? That players are laughing around, and that's where I feel initially that intensity was lacking. They didn't feel like they were playing an Asia Cup match, which is I really felt was disrespectful to Nepal. And Nepal made India pay, which I genuinely enjoy, because that's sport. You can't take anyone lightly. When you do, sport itself makes you pay. It's a great leveler after all.
Yeah, that's a very bad attitude from a lot of senior players as well. So that's why I think that's something which India would have learned today, and maybe come back against Pakistan. You have to be in your A game. So India play Pakistan next this Sunday, I'm not wrong.
5 days to go. That's a
5 days, good gap. Pakistan will be playing before that, I believe.
I think Pakistan are the ones who are playing B2, which is the second team.
So I think Pakistan are playing the second team day after tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. Day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the
No, they're playing not day after tomorrow, the day after that. Because there'll be 1 day break as well before the Super 4 starts. So.
No. They're playing. That is today. 5th is when they're going to be playing. Right now, they've almost crossed into. So they're playing the match today, and then tomorrow they'll be playing B2, because the match is happening in Lahore, Afghanistan and Sri Lanka.
They're playing.
So the teams are already there. It's just Pakistan who has to travel.
So
they are playing on
whoever is going to be. So Pakistan has to travel back again and play India as well. So Pakistan's scheduling is again tight. For India, they've got ample amount of rest. Then they go again, but they have a back-to-back matches as well, if I'm not wrong. And India plays B1 on 12th very quickly with 1 day break. Then again they go on 15th as well. So India have got tight schedule. Then you have the final, of course. So it's interesting matches ahead. Believe me, watching a spectator in India annoys me that senior players take their place for granted doesn't perform. I agree with you. I mean, maybe today you can give it for leeway. And I was not very happy with the fact that they dropped so many catches. You can't afford to drop them. Let's be very honest. If this is Pakistan game, they would have got tortured in social media if it was Pakistan. Thankfully, it was not Pakistan game.
And thankfully, we didn't.
Like you mentioned about Arshdeep Singh as well. You saw what happened with him last time when he dropped a catch against Pakistan. You don't drop catches against anybody for that matter. And you have to be really. If you have to win the World Cup, you have to take catches. In the World Cup final 2011, we saved at least 45 runs on the field, if you guys remember.
Correct.
The first 5 overs, there were 9 runs. And that's primarily because of Yuvraj Singh, Raina. They were diving around. Literally. Remember, there was some poor bowling width which was given when Zahir Khan and Shrisham were bowling, but they made sure Dilshan and Upul Taranga did not get away quickly. And that's why we really fielded well. Even in Championship in 2013, even 2007 World Cup, the 3 trophies which we have won, we've been the best battlefield. You remember 2007 World Cup? We were outstanding. You remember one of the catches was Robin Uthappa to fly over one of the runouts of South African game.
I'll just give an example on the flip side of it. I mean, look at, for example, New Zealand versus India in the semi-final. It was that fielding effort from Martin Kapil that changed the game right around its head. So these kind of things, I mean, you would have to say that fielding is really important. I just feel today India were a little relaxed because they felt like they were playing a team which is not up to their standards, but they did. I mean, you would have to say that Nepal did utilize those opportunities. And I'll be very frank with you, I really loved watching Nepal play. I think even against Pakistan, they didn't seem to give up. They're a very resilient team. It looks like a bunch of lads who are out there with high intensity. If not looking to win, they're looking to win at least every moment in the game. And that's a very good thing to have. Even I remember today, for instance, Mohammad Siraj tried to surprise Kushal Gurtel initially with a bunch of bouncers, and he tried to go after them. So it was not like they're backing down, and they made both the teams pay. Even Pakistan initially, right? They were not given anything. They had to struggle for each and every run. And it took only Babar's brilliance to really take them out of that jail. And something very similar happened today. You felt like only when the spinners came in and they started bowling well, where the Nepalese batters really kept quiet, and where someone like Asif really struggled. But even then, he did not throw his wicket away. I know you would say that he played a negative innings, and he did, but it was not like he was ready to give his wicket away cheaply. He stood in there, he dug in, and he played good hard cricket, which was something really good to see as a neutral spectator. I know against our country, we did feel frustrated, but I think if this was another country, we would all be happy about how Nepal's performed.
Absolutely. Kapil Verma's question. I think we were a little busy, especially me. I was a little busy. Sandeep is sick, and I was busy with my graduation. So that's why we weren't able to come every day. But we will try to make it come from tomorrow at least.
Today we got a little late because the match ended.
Late as well. So we would have come early. In Pakistan match, we couldn't get a result. We waited till 11 for the result to come out. We couldn't, and there was nothing much to talk. Aisha, I think I like different on that because if you look at the body language of the teams, I'm not saying it's because of India was playing or something like that. I would be the first biggest critic of India, but I personally thought India was the most happier team coming from the dressing room after the recovery they made. Their body language was really up when Indians were trying to walk into the field just before the rain had to come again. Pakistani looked nervy, and they were the first ones who wanted the match to be called off as well because it wasn't going to be easy to chase 266. The 250 was a par score in that ground.
Yeah.
We were 20 runs above par.
I
Despite
mean,
of India
from
losing
what I
4
saw
wickets
as
inside.
well, even in that match, it did seem like Ishan Kishan and Hardik Pandya played quite a lot of shots where they timed the ball really well.
Yeah.
But the outfield and the pitch, even the ball was coming slower onto the bat,
Yeah.
and it seemed like the ball wasn't traveling as quickly off the pitch. So I felt like it was a pitch where doubles and singles would come into handy much more than boundaries.
Yeah.
For example, Hardik Pandya, I think throughout his innings, till he
Mm.
reached 50, he not scored a lot of boundaries. It was just singles and
Yeah.
doubles, and
Yeah.
we were really surprised
Yeah.
when he ended up raising his bat and we
Yeah.
realized he scored his 50. So
Absolutely.
that was the way to go, and that's where I felt, especially with a new ball, it wouldn't have been as easy. But that being said, Pakistan does have some good
Yeah.
quality batters, top of the order
Yeah.
with Babar and Rizwan. So it would have been a very close match. I don't think either of the teams would have felt like it was going to be a comfortable second
Yeah,
innings.
absolutely.
So it would have been an exciting one, and I just feel like we were
Yeah,
robbed
we were
of an
robbed off.
excitement.
Yeah, we were robbed off. I think we would have had a good game of cricket rather. I think India versus Pakistan on 10 September. मैं आपकी bowling देखी मैं नेपाल के against. Yeah, I mean we bad. Today was bad, but
Yeah.
I don't think we were that bad. We were that bad as a bowling unit, to be very honest. And we didn't ball badly. We fielded badly today. So that's where I think. Otherwise, the Indian bowling was good, at least in the initial part of it. So let's see how things go in the next match. I think 10th of September will be a good one to judge. Don't you think a team which is playing a second ODI match? Yeah, I agree with it. We should have been more ruthless. I thought India was very, very, very complacent today in terms of their fielding and a lot of things. I think India knew it was like a walkover. That's why I said attitude matters, especially in games.
Now
like
you
this.
guys realize, right? I mean, obviously, luckily for us, on the opposition side, if you look, you have Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. You would say on paper, comparing all their disciplines together, that they are pretty much similar to each other. But now, would you imagine if this was a World Cup group and now Pakistan had a much
Our next live is going to be tomorrow, by the way, guys.
we will definitely show up tomorrow.
Afghanistan, Sri Lanka is a big game, so we'll be back tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We'll be covering everything. Easy chase, yeah, maybe it could have it. Yeah, you never know.
It could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way.
That's always saying.
We were left at the half mark without the second part. After the interval, there was no.
I think probably the first 10 overs would decide how the game would move on early on.
Yeah, remember they had to chase at night under moisture conditions.
Yeah.
You never know, anything could have happened.
I mean, what really went wrong for Nepal also was the fact that they had to chase under the lights.
Yeah.
And it was tough to chase under the lights. I felt today, I genuinely felt if it was Pakistani bowlers, India wouldn't have felt it as easy against as they felt against Nepal.
Absolutely. Having said that, we're going to end the live right here. We'll be back very soon. Nepal bowled well at the start. Yeah, I agree with that as well. We'll be ending the live right here, so we'll be back tomorrow again. Aisha, Kapil, everybody who joined today, you can join us tomorrow for an exciting live. We'll be here talking about cricket, about Asia Cup. So do not forget to check out our app once again and check out the premium features of our app. It's absolutely free, of course, as well if you want to check out our free to play fantasy feature. But check out our premium feature and our predictor feature, our expert predictions on Instagram as well for more of the content. Have a good time, all of you. See you all very soon. Good night.
Good night, guys.